I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Yes or no? Did you ever take banned substances to enhance your cycling performance?
Yes.
I had no prior knowledge of the planned assault on Nancy Kerrigan.
I am deeply sorry for my irresponsible and selfish behavior I engaged in.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Oops, the podcast. I am Julio, joined by old Francis himself.
Here we are.
How you doing?
I'm solid. How are you?
Solid, dude. Francis and I were, we did some like funny comparison things that I thought were fun. One of them was we were kind of just like, Francis knows that I am into like kind of monitoring how many flights I take, and that I just find that fun. And then Francis was like, then we started kind of like adding up Francis's, which were fun. And then Francis was like, dude, I'm going to fucking take you this year.
No,
which was like fun.
You said that I was going to take you
Sorry,
this year.
I said that Francis was going to take me this year.
I still don't think I will. I think you travel more than anyone I know.
But like, I think that when all things are considered, like whether I think you'll take me. But it's just funny because nobody cares about that except me, which makes it funny.
Yeah.
Like one time I asked somebody, I think it was Ricky, I was like, how many like flights or something? And he's like, dude, no one knows that besides you.
But it's kind of fun. It made me, you asking about it made me care.
It's fun, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, we compared our Uber ratings and we had the exact same Uber rating.
Yeah.
And then we forgot to bring masks and Francis called the first Uber. The guy didn't care. I called the second Uber and the guy did care and reported me.
And
so I think
I have a better rating.
Francis now has a better rating.
Yeah, mine's 4.83. Julia's was 4.83.
Mine has slipped. Mine has now slipped.
It slipped.
Chris is 4.92. Son of a gun.
Wow, that is superb.
Dirty
Chris,
dog.
for you.
It was also funny. Francis and I have never flown together. And it was funny to just like watch the things we talk about start to play out immediately. Like Francis immediately opened the window but he asked the person in front.
I don't know if I asked her. I did it. And then she looked back at me.
Oh, okay.
Like I had done something very aggressive. And I said, is that okay? And she said, oh yeah, sure.
And then we started surveying where the window was in relation to which seat. And at the time it was like a little bit on Francis's side, but Francis made the funny point that once she reclined, it would then fully be in her zone.
Yeah, but if she had reclined, I would have been furious because it was a 30-minute flight. And Julio's guy in front of him did recline on the way home.
And you looked at me like, are you fucking...
I thought that's when you can start to do the whole, like, you just throw a knee or an elbow at random moments, create their own turbulence, you know? That's what I would have done. You're allowed to.
Dude, that's
Who
so
reclines
funny.
their seat on a 30-minute flight? Any plane that's equipped for just a 30-minute flight is going to be a very small plane no matter what.
Right.
And you're reclining to what? Nap for 8 minutes?
It seems
You're
like
only allowed to
God.
recline once we're 10 minutes into the air. And then 10 minutes later, you have to restore your seat to, its normal position. So what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
The initial descent begins immediately.
Yeah.
Dude, on my flight back from Albany, we had a very type A flight attendant and I never reclined. And she goes, you have to bring your seat back upright. And I was like, it's already upright. She goes, no, it's not. And then she starts trying to do it for me, but it was already upright. And she goes, they're kind of old. You just need to. And then she didn't actually do anything and acted as if she had done it for me.
Oh, that bitch.
I wanted to.
That stupid bitch.
Dude, I was not happy. Not happy.
Yeah, no. No, I wouldn't have been happy either.
I have achieved another milestone. Upon visiting the Albany airport, is the 100th airport that I have been to.
Wow.
It's a fun. Thank you.
I didn't realize you were keeping track of airports too.
Yeah, it's started. Hillary, says that I'm OCD. I am. But I don't. Do I seem OCD?
No.
Like even when now that you guys know me,
I wouldn't call it OCD.
What is it?
I think it's just sort of taking pride and making habits out of things that most people don't.
Is this like the adult manifestation of lining up all of my Matchbox cars? All of them?
Yeah.
It's like the same kind of thing.
Polishing the windshields.
Right.
With a tiny little toothbrush. A very, very small toothbrush.
Tiniest little
The most concentrated Windex squirt. You know, the laser squirt.
You're too funny.
Let's touch on what happened at the Academy Awards. Having said that, really quick, I realize we are very late to this game, so we will not waste much time on it. But given that Julio is an expert on the Academy Awards,
Right. We have to talk about movies, and therefore we can't ignore the elephant in the room.
mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Were you pleased with how the awards were allocated?
So let's address the thing that everybody's thinking about. And that is that if a movie is nominated for Best Picture and Best Foreign Film, and it's the only foreign film nominated for Best Picture, it has to win Best Foreign Film. If the Academy Awards are set up in a way where we assume that our movies get precedence, how could Drive My Car be nominated for Best International Feature Film and Best Picture and not win Best International Feature Film, which it did,
That's an interesting point.
right?
Yeah. You're saying it was the only foreign film
Yes.
nominated for Best Picture?
Yes.
I guess that might make sense, yeah.
Which I know this is what on everybody's mind.
It's a great logical sort of exclusion that you've done there, yeah.
The other movies, like if another movie had won, they would have been like, how are we not nominated for Best Picture then?
But
Is there
that-
different criteria?
But that implies that the Best Picture is the biggest prize of all, which I tend to think that it is.
It is. And it's okay. Like it's no one said that this is an international governing body. This is just our thing.
Mhm.
We're celebrating our movies the most. Therefore,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, Will Smith slapped Chris Rock in the face.
Did you watch it live?
No.
Okay.
I didn't find
Did
out
you
till the
watch it
next
live?
morning,
Oh, wow.
at which point I'm not sure I've ever seen the internet as focused on anything.
Yeah, they
Even COVID. When
was
COVID
crazy.
happened, I don't remember it being as all-encompassing in terms of every single comedian in the world had to write their 10 jokes,
hmm
post them on Twitter and Instagram. So much overlap, so much redundancy, so many. Grew up in a town in Bel Air, like Westville, born and raised, blah blah blah.
Right.
All those lyrical jokes,
Yeah, I mean, they do. Yeah, by the morning they had done like a comprehensive JFK assassin style deep dive into this topic
It was a
from every angle.
an absolute carpet bombing of humor about paper beats rock, and
Oh God,
all these jokes.
what's paper? I don't even
Because he
understand.
slapped him with an open hand, so he
Oh.
was giving paper.
Mm.
Finally I was like, all right, I'll write one joke, and I said something like, if my wife were to lose her hair someday and a comedian were to make fun of her for it, it would probably be me.
Oh my God.
That was all I had. That was the only take I had. Or I was like, I hope it would be me or something like that. Which is a okay joke. I gave it a C minus. And then I was like, oh, why did I feel the need to do that? And so it's all that anyone's ever talking about right now. And hopefully by the time this airs, it will have faded a little bit. But you're a big Will Smith guy.
Am I?
You watched his series.
I enjoyed the series despite him, and I appreciate.
Wow.
The series was so good that like anybody could have hosted it and it would have been
You
amazing.
did say that. You have
But-
been consistent in that take.
But he did have redeeming qualities. He was very present. He was very eager. He was very focused. And my take was, oh, this is why this guy has been on top of the game for this long.
Mm.
Because he is just he's so good at all these things. However, I've been a little concerned about him for many years. I've kind of been like, this guy looks like something's going on. The second he started vlogging, I was kind of like, what's going on here?
Mm.
And then, whatever. But it's funny watching it live. He comes on stage, he does it. Chris Rock sort of fell back in a way where it looked like it could have been choreographed. It looked so.
There
I
were
would
a lot of conspiracy theories abounding.
so I would like to talk about that too because there's no fucking way it's a conspiracy in my opinion unless
No.
Chris Rock was not participating in it. However, then Will Smith goes and sit down. Chris Rock goes, I just got bitch slapped by Will Smith. Hilarious. So now it seems like they did it on purpose. But then you hear Will Smith yelling,
Yeah.
and the camera made the mistake of cutting back to him.
Only in the Australian and the Japanese feeds.
No, they cut back to him a little, but you couldn't see it or hear it really. In the other feeds, you're right, you saw the whole thing, but you saw him the second time he yelled it at the tail end of it. Then a bit like, so that all happens and you're like, whoa, that was insane. So I immediately go on Twitter. The first person who has tweeted about it is Ryan. Ryan Ryan was early to the game. Ryan was the Associated Press who broke the news.
Ryan told me that Will Smith had punched him in the face.
Yeah, right. It's effectively, but I see that it is definitely different.
That's why I watch the Oscars or the Grammys, because it's a live appointment television event and something could happen, a production error, a nip slip.
Typically does.
Yeah. And there was a nip slip. But no one's talking about the nip slip.
No one's talking about the nip slip.
I remember watching
nip slip.
Venus Williams.
What?
During Will Smith's speech.
The Oscars placard came on the screen and you just assumed that Will Smith was swearing or something again. But we found out later that it was because when they cut to the Williams box and they were trying their best to be stone-faced as to not to indicate how they truly felt about what was happening, Venus's nipple was out.
Oh my gosh.
And Hillary made the point that Venus just kind of looked like very concerned in general. Like, ooh, like, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. Damn.
Pretty fucking crazy.
I think there's one thing that really stood out to me, which really kind of almost struck a chord with me, was when Chris Rock goes, it was a G.I. Jane. Will Smith yells, keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth. And Chris Rock goes, it was a G.I. Jane joke.
Dude. Right? Didn't he say dude?
Something like that, which is a comedian's response.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, that's the joke you got mad about?
Right. Totally.
We didn't even care about that joke. That's not one of our better ones that we had written. We threw away other jokes that were better than that were less offensive.
Totally.
And then Will Smith says it again, keep my wife's name out of your fucking mouth. At which point Chris Rock goes, I will. And that was a moment where I've been in that position before, where I'm afraid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm afraid of what's happening. It could be that it's in a public place. You've been either literally or figuratively slapped, and everyone's looking at you, and you just want to diffuse it as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you think about it, Chris Rock is one of the most confident, brilliant comedians of all time.
Yeah.
And for him to, it sounded like I thought when he said it was a G.I. Jane joke, that he might still have his shit together and kind of be like, why did you, what the hell is your problem? Like, why would you have done that? Or maybe go into a bit or
like try to keep being funny
or
like,
whatever.
He didn't have a lot of options.
And when Will Smith said it again, yelled it again, that's when I realized he's very shaken by this.
Yeah.
He's very, very shaken by this, and he doesn't know what's going on. His brain hasn't processed it. I mean, how many times in your life have you even ever been slapped in the face?
Not many.
Hard. Let alone by a
times.
man, let alone by one of the most famous actors on earth, let alone during the Oscars.
And it came out of nowhere.
In a room full of the most famous people on earth. I mean, the stakes could not have been higher. And, it was so shocking. And that moment when you hear it in his voice, where he says, like, I will not touch your family with humor. I won't take any cracks at you. Like, I give in. Yes, you win. I've been in that position before, and my heart kind of broke for him in a weird way.
Yeah.
Because here was a guy that, I'm sure is so accustomed to just like leading the room.
Dude, and not to mention, like when he first came out, he was killing. Yeah. And I was kind of like, oh, like he's sort of being on some like the real host of the Oscars has arrived shit, right. And behaving accordingly, like being so good up there.
And he has hosted the Oscars, and he did kill.
I know. And it hurt to watch his wings get clipped.
Yeah, it was
tough to watch.
It was a very neutering moment.
Yeah, big time.
Which, it was someone responding to a bully that they are afraid of.
Yeah.
And then he sort of tried to get back on track, which I thought was incredibly noble, because in that moment, I can't guarantee that I wouldn't have started crying.
Dude, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I could see my voice cracking, my lips starting to quiver. You get slapped in the face, you know? Like, it brought me back to childhood. The episode we talked about where getting yelled at when you're a kid, and you think you're in huge trouble. Like, that's when you're reprimanded out of nowhere and you didn't even realize you were doing something wrong.
Yeah. And it sucks because that's a situation where, like, there's no, once that happens, what can you possibly do? What can you possibly do?
Correct.
Like, at the end of the day, like, I get that, like, everybody's sort of siding with him on it, fine. But, like, nobody wants to get bitch slapped on live TV with everybody watching.
And you know, exactly. Listen, the last thing is the whole the whole internet response of, well, he shouldn't make jokes about alopecia.
It's like, have you never watched the Oscars?
I mean,
they're so much worse than that.
Yeah, my thought on that is, first of all, there's a very high likelihood that Chris Rock did not write that joke himself.
Right.
You know, everybody who's telling jokes, every comedian who's at the Oscars has a team of writers.
People that we know do
Yeah,
that.
and of course he's going to get the blame for it since it came out of his mouth. But I guarantee you that there were 50 jokes that were written, and he had a minute and a half, whatever, and they selected 3. I didn't see anything else of his jokes.
So, dude, like, in the past, some of the jokes they do are, like, super fucked up. Like, when Ricky Gervais was doing it, he said some, like, I'm like, I cannot believe they're saying this stuff. To the point where, dude, honestly, I've sort of never been a fan of the roast element of it. It just seems like unnecessarily mean-spirited. And I've always been trying to, like, put it into context. And I said this to everybody here, who I'm sitting with right now, Francis, Chris, and Ryan. But I think that this is a good quote that made me understand why they do it, which I will read again. So he says, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wrote this in his article about what happened. He's like, I can see where the Smiths might not have found the joke funny, but Hollywood award shows are traditionally a venue where much worse things have been said about celebrities as a means of downplaying the fact that it's basically a gathering of multimillionaires giving each other awards to boost business so that they can make even more money.
Correct.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude,
none of it's real. These people deserve to be taken down just a peg.
Yeah, all good.
Most of them typically are good sports about it.
But even when they're not, it's funny when they cut to the person getting roasted and they're not laughing. It happens a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like, more than you'd think.
Yeah.
For something that they continue to do.
Exactly. And it just, you know, I found it to be kind of a shitty moment. I'm not entertained by it. I wasn't excited. I didn't grab my popcorn. You know, I didn't relish it. I don't want to watch it again.
Yeah.
I can't watch that clip again.
It's pretty bad.
Because it's
hard to watch.
Makes me feel I've been in Chris Rock's position before. I mean, not like that, but I've been slapped on the wrist at a time when I didn't think I was doing something wrong, or it was done by a bully for them to assert themselves, and you start to close in on yourself and doubt your choices or doubt who you are. And I really don't think Chris Rock did anything wrong. So that's
agreed.
You know, my take on it.
Dude, Denzel, did you hear about that?
Yeah, he said to him.
Yeah, he comes and just gives him extremely good, like, almost the way that guy was talking to you in the parking lot, like, indirect but very good, like, life lessons.
Yeah,
sort of being like, dude, this is like when the devil's gonna come for you, or whatever he meant by that.
Yeah, but it's weird because Will Smith quoted it in his acceptance speech for Best Actor moments later, as though he thought that Denzel. I took that as him saying that Denzel, like, was I don't know, in a way rooting for him. It
doesn't sound like to me. It sounded like to me like you're like, these are the times where, like, you're going to be capable of, like, fucking things up for yourself, but because like doing something bad, essentially.
But that's what I took it as from Denzel.
Yeah.
And then I think Will Smith invoked it in a way of sort of defending himself.
Like, while he was calling himself a vessel of love. Dude, poor guy, dude. I was like, what? Like,
So you feel bad for Will Smith?
Like, no, but also like he has seemed to me like a guy who's going through a mental thing.
Could be, yeah.
For a while.
Yeah, it could be.
And this maybe seems like a kind of culmination of all that. But dude, this is funny. Okay, so sorry. Do we have more to say about Will? Because I have another funny Oscars thing. So Coda won, which is great.
Coda's great.
It was my favorite one. Belfast was amazing too. Whatever. So I am with Whitney this weekend, and we're hanging out. Like I've only hung out with her a couple times. Like I'm trying to like make small talk. I'm like, oh, here's this like powerful Hollywood person. Like she'll want to talk about the Oscars. So I'm like, have you watched any like the Oscars movies? Just like as small talk. And she said something that made me feel so self-conscious. She goes, oh, right. That's like your thing, right? Because I guess she had seen my story where I posted the power rankings. And she's like, yeah, let's talk about it. Like, what do you think? And I was like, oh my God, I feel so fucking self-conscious. This is super embarrassing. And then I sort of said that, and then it was just like kind of weird, and then it was fine. But I was like, God damn it. Dude, another funny thing, one of the Japanese guy who won, I believe it was the director of Drive My Car, the movie we were talking about earlier. He went up there and they tried to play him off. And then he's like, no. And he made them stop. And then the music stopped. And then he kept going. And then they tried to play him off again. And he tried to stop it again. And then they're like, nope, not this time.
Yeah,
and he was kind of like, and it was so awkward.
Dude,
I was like,
I swear to God, I'm not making a joke when I say this. When the best supporting actor from Coda
oh my God,
was giving his acceptance
It's going to be my next.
I was so wondering, like, how could they play him off?
Oh, that was not what I was going to say, but interesting.
Because he was giving this brilliant speech, and it was long, right?
Yeah, he kept going.
But he's deaf. And so was there somebody signaling to him, like, wrap it up? I swear to God, I'm not making fun of deaf people. Because it's just like, that's how they tell everyone, wrap it up as they start the music. And it was total and utter silence the whole time. And I kept being like, I hope they don't start the music. That would be too on the nose, Dude,
I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. What a great speech.
Awesome speech.
Like so impassioned, like so good. But dude, the Korean lady from Minari, they tried to pull her out of the way and she just like didn't get the memo. So she's just standing in his speech.
And she took his trophy
he was
from
holding
him
it from
too.
so he could sign, which was nice.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like, oh, that's another good live event.
Uh-huh.
Like typically that would have been one of the most fruitful things of the night had what transpired didn't happen. Not to mention, I feel bad for poor Questlove, dude.
Yeah.
He then won Best Documentary Feature, and it's like he didn't acknowledge it at all, which I think was good, and he like let the movie have a moment, but how interesting.
Wow. Well, yep. So that's the Oscars.
The Oscars, dude, fucking insane. Okay, well, dude, I wanted to talk about a couple more Boston things that we didn't cover.
Okay.
If you're interested in covering them. One of them, one of the guys we were sitting next to on the court was just like name dropping so aggressively. I've never seen anything like it in my life.
Yeah, it was sad. I've seen people like this at basketball games. Weirdly.
Really?
Yeah. Where they try to prove to you that they're close to the players.
Dude, he literally would tap Francis. He was sitting next to Francis. Sorry for actually tapping you.
It's okay.
He tapped Francis, and then he starts bringing up one of the players. Francis has not asked for any of this, hasn't even talked to the guy once. And he's like, yeah, that's so-and-so. We're really good friends. Pulls it up and then starts zooming in. And he literally goes, that's me.
Yeah, and it was
dude, he did it 10 times.
Picture of them, at a restaurant or something like that with their wives or girlfriends.
And then starts like filling us in about facts about him, like the classic name drop thing, being like, oh yeah. I actually know his brother really well. He's a great guy, family guy.
Yeah, he was trying to buy an apartment and I helped him out with that. Yeah. It's just one of these weird nonsense people that you meet in the wild sometimes.
Dude, totally.
But then the ultimate irony was that, when our buddy Babs was taking pictures of us, and then people from the stands would come up and say, hey guys, like, love your podcast. Only have a few times, but after the third or fourth time, this guy turns to us and he goes, who are you guys? What do you do? I'm like, oh, we're comedians. We have a podcast. 4 or 5 minutes later, out of nowhere, he just pulls up his phone and he's shooting an Instagram story of himself next to us, and he goes, "At the game with my boys," and we were all like, "Go Celtics!" And I'm like, "You clown, you clout hugger,
Dude, it was
you're a
really
hugger of clout. You're one of those, burrs on the coattails of clout.
barnacle as you
Yeah, barnacle of clout.
on the hull of clout.
Yeah.
So it's funny. Francis got recognized a lot. Dude, you got a lot of love at which was pretty cool.
That's Boston. Boston's just a huge Barstool town. I think that's what all those people know me from.
Still, very, very cool. And I had kind of mentioned it to Hillary. I was like, yeah, like we got recognized a lot. It was really cool. And then I was like, well, it was mostly Francis. And then she started laughing. She thought that was funny.
We had
I got some love too.
People come up and who were big fans of the pod and talk to both of us, and absolutely.
No, totally. I'm not. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to make you feel self-conscious.
No,
but it was funny that I didn't initiate. I very quickly disclosed the rest of the story, but it was funny that I initially was like, it was just kind of fun.
Yeah. Did Hill Dog have fun at my birthday party?
Yeah, she had a great time. She had fun getting dressed in the après-ski situation. She, said it was nice to see everybody. Spent a lot of time with Brooke, and I think she.
Oh, great point. Okay, so Wiley, our dear friend, he and Ryan hit it off. My pal Wiley. One of my favorite people on earth, Wiley. Just the ultimate,
great guy,
ultimate fun zone.
Good hang.
Just a fun zone of a man. And I guess they went to the bathroom together.
I don't know how he got there or why we were in the bathroom together, but there was another person in there too.
Huh.
There were three of us in your bathroom.
That sounds very suspicious.
Okay.
That sounds very sniff-spicious.
No, none of that.
No. Yeah, it isn't that, and I shouldn't say that. They don't do that. So
I don't touch this stuff.
Yeah.
Makes me sad.
Oh, we're learning a lot about Ryan.
That's nice, Ryan.
No, but the funny thing is that for some reason,
It's very nice.
for some reason, Wiley thinks that Ryan is very young and is not up to date on his cultural icons. And our bathroom has these photographs of brilliant
He's like,
musicians.
see that? That's Paul McCartney.
Yeah, no. So Wiley starts quizzing him, and he goes, "All right,
funny.
who's that?" And he points to a picture of Prince, and Ryan goes, "That's Pink." And then he points to
Like you were
Mick Jagger
That's very funny.
in Madison Square Garden. He goes, "Who's that?" And Ryan goes, "The founder of Lululemon."
We had a sweater with the Omega sign on it, so I thought it was pretty fitting.
Just right off the bat.
That's almost like an improv exercise.
And Wiley
It's like,
came
come
out
up
and
with
he
the
was like-
funniest wrong person.
Yeah, he was like, "Dude, this kid is hysterical." Like, he loved it. You nailed it. And there's also a picture of Louis Armstrong, the famous trumpet player and singer. And tell us your story about Louis Armstrong.
So once we got to Louis, I said, "That's Lance Armstrong."
That's good.
And then the reason why I said that is because back when I took my SAT, for the essay portion, I did some metaphor about Louis Armstrong going to the moon instead of Lance.
Oh.
And I accidentally wrote my entire segment about
Instead
how...
of Neil, you mean?
Wait. Didn't Lance... Wait a minute. Oh, I'm confused.
Lance Armstrong is the biker.
The cyclist.
You said the moon, right?
Oh. Yes. All right.
All these years.
Okay, so wait a minute. So then what I said to
doper Neil, always evading those drug tests, had cancer.
well, I said either Louis or Lance went to the moon instead of Neil.
Okay, got it. That's funny. That's
On
great.
my SAT. So that's where I drew the parallel there.
I like it.
Uh-huh.
I like it, dude.
And yeah, it was fun. Good
Nice.
bathroom time.
Very
Nice.
funny.
Well, it was really great. Really fun party.
Dude,
Really
speaking of Pink, not to be a dick, I think like I'm Broken and It's Beautiful. It's probably the worst song I've ever heard in my life. Like when I hear it come on, I start laughing. Like I was in Vitamin Shop the other day. and
How
I
does
heard
that
it.
go? What's
I'm
that song?
broken and it's beautiful.
I don't know that. Is
Dude,
that her
it's-
new song?
I don't think so. I think it's like an older song, but I'm like, I don't know. Dude, it's just not a good song.
Yeah, you know,
IMO.
I've always considered her kind of more of a pop star than a great singer. But then I remember the year she did the national anthem at the Super Bowl, and I remember realizing, oh, she's an unbelievable singer.
I'm sure she's supremely talented.
Yeah.
But yeah, just that song, dude, doesn't do it for me. Dude, we didn't talk about this yet, which is a funny wrinkle. It's amazing how bad I've become at saying. Maybe I was just always bad at them, but like I say at the same token, and Hillary laughs at me every time because apparently it's by the same token or whatever. I don't fucking know, dude. Whatever.
Well, those are very slim misses.
I know.
I'm not going to discredit you for that.
She is really she's a stickler when
Very
it comes to that
exacting.
stuff. She will correct me,
Interesting.
and I'm kind of like, yeah, I don't know. She's a corrector. Not to take away from her legacy, which is a wonderful one. Francis and I went to the movies at 11 a.m. What a fun. So Francis and I hanging out felt like one of us was like the uncle who like you don't see that often, and he's just taking you for a weekend of fun. Like we just did fun. We're gonna go to the basketball game, then we're gonna go to the movies, get whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I've never been to the movies before noon before in my life.
Have you not?
Never in my life. You have?
Well, I think a couple times. It's always when I'm on the road as a comedian. I just go alone.
Yeah.
to
No.
the
Yeah.
mall.
It's yeah. I was. Yeah. I don't think I've ever gone to the movies on the road. Batman.
The Batman.
The Batman. Can't believe that the Penguin Man was Colin Farrell. I learned that 10 hours after I'd seen the movie.
It's a solid movie, but you have got to prepare yourself mentally for how long it is.
So
It's so long.
Being that we went at 11 a.m., I felt like I could have stayed for another 2 hours and not been bothered by it.
I would rather have. I'm sorry.
No, go.
I would rather have watched a 2-hour Batman and then gone to a different movie.
Oh, interesting.
I would have been fine to do that.
Interesting.
But the 3 hours of it started to feel very long to me.
So yeah, it's so funny. I noticed that Francis was a little uncomfortable, but this is funny because when we sat down, I thought that Francis had sat a seat away from me on purpose. So there's a chair in the middle. Then when we were on stage, during the live show, it turned out that Francis thought that I had been the one who decided that we would sit with a seat in between us.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. I thought you wanted the buffer. And you thought that I wanted the buffer. And the truth is, it was a totally empty theater, and we would have been fine sitting right next to each other.
Yeah, we would have. But now that the dust has settled and we just did what we did, it was actually nice to be able to kind of sprawl out. And I noticed that you were sort of like in survival mode. Like Francis, first of all, Francis took his shoes off.
Yep.
Then he took his jacket off and was using it as a blanket. And I noticed that by the end of the movie, the blanket had moved to only his like bottom half. He just looked like my mom drinking her morning coffee with like a blanket over her thighs. And
Cozy. Yeah.
and I was like, and I couldn't tell if you were trying to get cozy or if you were just desperately trying to get comfortable.
Well, I have always historically had ants in my pants.
Really?
Yeah. All my life. All my life, my pants have absolutely been crawling with ants. I mean, at any given moment, you could find anywhere from, I don't know, 1,000 to 10,000, a whole colony down there. Just full of ants. My pants. And I've always been accused of it. People say, "Sit still, damn it. Sit still." And I'll say, "I can't. The ants are working." I'm a fidgety, itchy guy. I'm a guy who needs to move and fidget. I'm restless, very restless, which is why I exercise so much.
Yeah, right.
Because if I don't exercise, at night going to bed, I will be very ants in my pants, even if I'm not wearing pants.
Which is just funny that like I'm like that too. And I wonder if our career path chose us or if we chose it, if that makes sense. Because like, obviously having the energy at night is important, but then at the same token, like
By the same token?
By the same token. God damn
If
it.
you think I'm not going to have Hillary's back a minute after you tell me that, you got another thing coming,
You got
pal.
another thing coming. That's hilarious, dude. But what the fuck were we talking about?
We chose our careers or
Okay.
chose us.
So like, no, but dude, doing comedy makes it so much harder to go to bed
Yes.
to begin with.
Right.
But to begin with, if you can't sleep at all to begin with, you now are double fucked by the fact that you've now revved yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if it's like on nights where you don't have comedy, are you still like that too?
You know, a lot of it depends on my day.
Yeah.
But yes, I usually typically am quite fidgety
Mhm.
and unsettled, and it bothers Sierra. She just doesn't know what to do. It's not peaceful to sit next to me.
Okay, do you tap?
No, I kind of squirm.
You just seem
I'm squirmy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's funny because I tap, but I'm not necessarily feeling anxious. I just am like doing it.
Yeah.
And then people will be like, are you like,
I would tap if I didn't exercise. I know that about myself.
Interesting.
The tapping is a manifestation of energy that
interesting?
I have to dispel
Interesting.
through movement. But yeah, I mean, we were sitting there in the movie. First of all, it had poured rain, and I didn't
the entire
bring
day.
proper rain shit.
Same.
So I was really cold in the movie, which is why I took my coat off and used it to warm different parts of my body. So I would move it down to my legs because my legs were cold, and then my top half would get hot or cold. So I'd move it up. Then my feet would get cold, so I'd go down there. And I couldn't keep my boots on because they were wet, which is why I took my boots off. So there was reasoning behind a lot of these things that you're mad at me for.
Dude, it's funny because I've now just talked about this 3 times because we talked about it on both of our live shows. Now we're talking about it here. I was not mad. I was just concerned. But I love that bringing it up multiple times does come off as like it somehow bothered me. It didn't.
We
I was
get
just
it,
kind of like
Julio.
shocked.
We get it.
By the way, dude, I thought Batman was cast super well.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that the Penguin was Colin Farrell. Still blown away about it. He was so fucking good. But even just like the little parts, it was just really good.
Was Catwoman played by Lenny Kravitz's daughter?
Yes.
That's cool. She was so good in Big Little Lies.
Yeah, she was. She's also really good in this. She's solid. Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Uh-huh. But dude, even down to like the police, like one of like the corrupt police officers, they did a really good job at capturing the kind of like graphic novel character without making it seem cartoonish.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is fun.
Yeah.
Which I find fun.
I could have used a few more fight scenes, weirdly. I would have liked a little bit more fighting and less detectivery.
Dude, Bobby Pattinson, man. Guy's the fucking man.
Yeah, he's cool.
He's so cool.
Cool guy.
So dude, Hill Dog has started cooking a bunch.
Come on.
And she is so goddamn good at it.
This is good news.
Oh my God.
This is really big news for you. I was going to say, I'm not going to lie. You look pretty good.
I do?
You look thin.
Really?
I don't know. You look like you've lost some weight from a recent peak.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Well, no, the peak wasn't recent, but like even in the Iraq stuff, I'm like, I probably weigh 10 pounds more in those.
Holy smokes, man.
But dude,
That's a good thing to lose.
so I like have big legs. So I feel like when I lose 10 pounds, it isn't as noticeable as when other people lose 10 pounds. If that makes sense. So usually people don't notice I've lost weight till I lose like 15 or 20.
Oh,
Or that I've gained weight until I gain 15 or 20. It
that's
goes in
too
like
bad.
15 pounds. But I appreciate it. I don't know why I'm qualifying what you're saying to me. But Hill Dog has been cooking and she's really fucking good at it. And it's just really fun. What a nice thing. That I just like don't expect. I don't expect that.
Mhm.
And maybe that's like, the modern world. Like it's, your girl just doesn't cook for you the way that used to be,
Right.
So I just never expected her to cook. And all of a sudden she started cooking and I'm like, not only are you cooking, but you're very good at it.
You know something? You should start cooking with her.
Sounds nice.
It's
Sounds fun.
it's one of the most erotic experiences that we have.
You specifically
I'm
or in general?
very turned on when I'm in the kitchen with Sierra
Interesting.
cooking. You're kind of brushing against each
Yeah,
other.
yeah.
Oh, let me get to that cabinet. Ooh, little
Bumping.
butt grab on the way. Uh-oh, here comes a boner. Watch out. What's going to happen next?
Mayday.
This counter is at a good height. All kinds of stuff. It just, there's something about the spices and the powders and the senses and squeezing a lemon. It's very tactile. Watching her chop a cucumber or dice up a onion.
Hell yeah, dude.
Watching her work with her hands.
Hell yeah.
All that. you know.
Oh yeah.
I have a tendency when she's using a very sharp knife to sneak up behind her and kiss her on the neck, and she doesn't like it. It's dangerous, but that's probably why I like it. You know, I like a little danger in my sex.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And unfortunately, you know, then typically instead of having sex, we just eat the meal. And then we're too full to have sex.
Right, which then prevents the sex.
So that's okay. It's okay. There's still a big payoff. The meal is always a payoff, you know. But I would encourage you to just get in there. Get in there. You know, see what's going on. Even if listen, have her assign to you very menial tasks.
I typically try to sniff those out. I'm like, listen, I can't do much, but what I can do, I'm happy to help.
One thing that you can do that is extremely helpful is you can actually clean up while someone is cooking. So as she's sort of nearing the end of the preparation of the meal, if you're doing the dishes that are in the sink that she's no longer using, you're creating space in the kitchen, which is really, really valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And you're also making it so that you don't have to the dishes aren't hanging over you as you eat the meal as much. So there's even if you just get started on it, that's a really nice thing to do.
That is nice. Yeah, I usually find myself attempting to find ways to help, and then realize, I could set the table. So I'll end up doing that.
Yeah.
And then I know that that's not like super helpful.
I think the set the
something.
table is the ultimate guy cop out.
What needs to get done?
I'll go set the table for 25 minutes.
Okay, so but here's why.
Side do the forks go on? Let me Google that. Oh, look at this. Zelda on my phone. I started with fork placement and now I'm on level 4.
Okay, dude. So first of all, it's not me looking to cleanse my hands. I'm not like, I'll set the table and be done with it. I'm like, I need something to do. Oh, I could do that. Mm-hmm. And as far as the silverware thing goes, never forget, my buddy Matt's mom, Mrs. Finlayson, taught us that the same amount of letters are in left and right as there are in the corresponding utensils.
Fork and spoon.
And knife.
And knife?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Miss Finlayson.
Yep. Solid little tidbit.
Was it Fin-Layson or Finlayson one word?
Finlayson. They actually might have... I think there's been question of how it's actually pronounced. It might be Finlayson.
Finlayson.
No, but I always said Finlayson. Then one time I heard him say it in an old video, The Author's Tea, in first grade. And he said, by Matthew Finlayson. And I was kind of like, oh, was that the way it's actually said?
Oh, interesting. They didn't have a boy in the family named Finn, did they?
No.
I was going to say, because, boy, imagine the confusion. Finn, listen. Yes? No. We're saying your last name. Oh.
That's good.
Okay.
That's good.
You know?
That's very clever.
Okay. All right.
But, dude, yeah. I mean, it's nice to be helpful. But, dude, Hill Dog, rocking and rolling in there. And it's nice. I'm reaping the benefits.
Good. That is a lovely, incredible gift.
Good meal.
For a significant other to cook for you. It really is. And I'm telling you, you will encourage her to do it more if you can find a way to help, even a little bit.
You just, give her the confidence that...
Do you do the dishes once the dinner's done?
Depends. Like yesterday, for example, I didn't do anything. I didn't do one.
Was it your birthday or something?
So okay. In my defense,
what were you doing?
I put in like a really hard, long day of like work and focus, similar to her and how she does every day.
Yeah.
So she kind of kept asking. I was sort of like willing to just omit dinner to begin with. I hadn't come to thinking about it.
Uh-huh.
So she's like, "Should we do dinner?" And I was like, "Yeah, whatever." She's like, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "I don't know, whatever you want to do." And she was like, "Okay, fine." So I guess she like ordered some of the stuff that we didn't have that we needed.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was running really late.
Couple pieces of salmon?
Yeah, actually, yes.
You had some pieces
We
of
had
salmon?
pieces of salmon and she said pieces of salmon and we had a little laugh. And then when I Venmo'd her for groceries, I said pieces of salmon.
Nice.
Okay, so then it was delayed, but I didn't notice. Like I was still working. And she was like, "Oh, it's delayed." And I was like, "It's okay." And I think maybe somehow she like felt bad that somehow by it being delayed that like she had done something wrong.
Hang on, I'm so sorry to interrupt. What does that mean?
So
dinner is delayed.
we had ordered the things that we needed for dinner. Okay.
you were waiting for them to be delivered.
Yes.
I see. I thought
Sorry.
I thought she was saying like it's taking longer than I thought
Oh, no. No, fair.
to cook this thing.
Fair question.
And if she had said it's delayed, then I would have been like, what is going on with the way that she talks about food? What is
The
this?
piece of salmon is delayed.
Who taught her English this way? Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. Sorry.
So
keep
anyway,
going.
so the food was running behind because it had not yet been delivered. So she kept like she expressed some frustration about that. And then I think that maybe she thought that it was her fault somehow, which it obviously wasn't. And I didn't think that. I wasn't even thinking about it. So it arrived. She started preparing it. Then it was done. And then we ate. And then she cleaned up. She literally did everything. I didn't do one thing. I did set the table. Wasn't my best showing, but I'm not helpful. I mean, you know, certain things are definitely above my pay grade, but I'm always willing to help.
Yeah, but you gotta do it regardless of whether she asks.
Okay, fine. But
By the way,
I do things. I don't do nothing. Like,
I'm saying this just as much for myself as I am
generally,
for you.
okay, generally speaking.
Because you know, there's often a strong, you know, desire once you've eaten to just like, oh, let's just leave it. I don't know. We're tired. Like, come on, let's watch TV. And I'm telling you that the more that she thinks that the idea of cooking a meal entails the whole preparation of it, the cooking of it, the plating of it, the set, you know, whatever, and then the whole cleanup, it just becomes this bear
Yeah.
that you have to kind of commit to in an enormous way to do, and that makes it a lot harder.
Yeah.
Here's another. And by the way, I'm talking a lot to all the people out there listening. If one part of your relationship, one person in your relationship tends to do more of the cooking, these are the little things that I've learned that you can do to actually encourage and help in some small way. So a lot of the time, I'll be done with my workday before Sierra. And even if I know we're going to cook something for dinner that, as you say, is above my pay grade, so she's going to be running the show.
So does that exist?
Yeah.
You seem like
She's a better cook. than I
you're
am.
very competent.
I'm competent, but my menu is more limited.
Got it. You do more of like manly smoked meat
Well,
preparation.
it's more like if I'm going to cook a chicken dish or a fish dish, I'm
Fish dish is funny.
I'm sticking to ones that are kind of in my comfort zone,
Okay.
where she is much more likely to take on a new recipe and utilize spices that I don't even really know about, or you
Yeah,
know.
Hillary's cooking critical thinking skills. I'll be eating something and I'd be like, how did you know to do that? And she's like, it just made sense. I'm like, but what context do you have for it to make sense to begin with?
That is experience, and it gets fun when that's the case.
When you can kind of like be like, ooh, why don't I just
dude,
even take liberties with the recipe?
Exactly. I am now at a point where I've cooked certain dishes enough times that I know what can go. And I think for the first time, maybe not the first time, but recently I cooked a chicken dish where I kind of improv'd and it came out superb.
Wow.
And there is no better feeling. That's when you
Wow.
feel like you've mastered cooking.
Wow.
You know, I said did chicken thighs. Actually, before I get into that, so let me finish this thought, which is one thing you can do is if she's still working or whatever, and you guys are doing chicken for dinner that night, go into the fridge, unwrap the chicken, season it with salt and pepper, and then put it back in the fridge uncovered. And pat it dry, season with salt and pepper, and put it back in the fridge. And then an hour before you think that she's going to start cooking or whatever, take it out of the fridge so that the
wow.
chicken can come to room temperature.
Sous chef.
And that way, there's a huge amount of steps that have been taken care of, and she can just cook instead of having to prep.
That's nice.
You know, and also by putting it back in the fridge and letting it dry out, that's when if you have chicken that has skin on it, you can actually make a much crispier skin, which is really, really nice.
Interesting.
And you need to do that, to do steps like that. And seasoning earlier is always better, even if you can do it a night before, but I never get to it that far ahead of time. But anyway, what was I saying?
Just helping.
Oh yeah. I was freestyling a chicken recipe, and I was doing chicken thighs with skin. I had seasoned with salt and pepper, and then I think I chopped up a ton of garlic, did some lemon, did some rosemary, and then I actually didn't put the rosemary on yet, but I got a pan very, very, very hot with some olive oil. I skin side down to get the skin nice and crispy, flipped it, and then I poured in some olive oil, some more lemon juice, and some white wine. And then I put a top over it to sort of braise it after I had already crisped the skin. And this shit came out like fucking gangbusters, dude. It was dynamite.
Wow.
I was really proud of myself.
Sounds really good.
Because I didn't look at a recipe, and
Not
at
all.
No.
Wow.
I had done recipes before that called for
Right.
garlic and rosemary and some other things, but adding the white wine, I came from like a mix of different recipes that I'd done, and doing it that way in that order. I don't know,
Dude,
simple,
hell yeah.
super simple, but it was
Sick.
delicious. Yeah.
Dude, I need to get there. That would be fun. Sometimes like Hillary will cook for me, and then she'll do the laundry, and then she'll get me clothes, and I'm like, is this my girlfriend or my mom, dude?
Yeah. Well, and it also speaks to how dependent we become, such that if they go away for a few days,
Oh yeah.
things fall apart.
Yeah, totally.
Chinua Achebe.
Is that what that means?
Yeah, he wrote a book called Things Fall Apart, which was required reading between the summers of 8th grade and 9th grade.
The
And
old
was not,
summer reading
it
list.
was not a particularly enjoyable book. I think it was about African tribalism. Anyway, I think it's a very famous book though. Okay, so yeah, dude. I think it's fun. It's fun to cook. You feel very accomplished if you get shit right. So
Awesome.
get into it.
Cool. Dude, I have a good email for us if you'd like it.
Deal.
Do you have something else you want to talk about?
I don't know if I'm supposed to have a bachelor party, but let's hold that for after your email.
Oh, oh no, that isn't about this. Never mind. Okay. No. Why don't you do that first?
Well, am I supposed to have a bachelor party?
You get to decide that.
I'm thinking maybe I just want to have, the reason I brought this up,
You travel all the time for work. You don't have to have one.
all
if
I
you don't
really
want.
want to do is just have the dudes over to have a dinner at our place
Mhm.
that someone else cooks. Like we'll hire a chef or something.
So I will say
Everyone
this.
throw in the money and
Yeah.
we'll have a fucking sweet dinner.
Awesome,
Drink
dude.
some sick whiskey, wine and shit like that.
So you even though maybe for you, if you don't feel like doing it or whatever, it is something that seems like it would be something that you enjoy. You know what I mean?
As I said, dude, I don't love when the purpose of a gathering is to
Is
honor
you.
me.
Right. So okay. So you prefer your comfort zone is being at another person's bachelor party.
Yes, well, certainly, I'm more comfortable, but in honesty, I don't really like bachelor parties in general.
So I've only heard you talk about them in such a positive way.
Is that right?
Like exclusively?
See, you are my Samuel Tully.
Who's that?
He from Game of Thrones.
Oh, which guy is that?
He's Jon Snow's best friend,
Oh yeah. Okay.
and he went to work in the sept where the records were kept,
You're right. Yeah.
and he became sort of a historian. So you keep the records of my feelings.
But he didn't he end up low key saving the day in some way?
Oh,
Like,
in a big way. He
what did he do
cured the Khaleesi's bodyguard of grayscale,
oh,
and
right.
also was the one who unearthed that Jon was in fact
The heir to the throne.
the heir to the throne
Yes.
and not Ned Stark's bastard son.
Got it.
Sorry to anyone who's watching this series for the first
It's on you.
time.
It's on you at this point. Like there was a Euphoria joke in relation to Will Smith, and it was a part that I had not gotten to, but it's my fault at this point that I haven't finished Euphoria.
You're not far off
Yeah.
on Euphoria.
I'm like an episode away. Okay, but the I've only ever heard you say both on the episode and in private that you've loved the Bachelor.
I
parties
think
you've gone
I've
to.
been to a lot of good ones, but for me, the key to a bachelor party is that it needs to have very active things happening. for example, I've been on a bachelor party where we were skiing and I loved that.
Yeah.
I've been on a bachelor party where we went to a very cool golf place, Bandon Dunes, and I loved that. I love the activity.
Vegas, but dude, your crew are like very active.
Sure. But I also just think that to take that on and to ask that of people this summer, you know, now with our lives being as busy as they are, just feels too demanding.
So is that and is that you talking about yourself specifically as well?
Myself, but also to put it on my friends.
Mhm.
You know, I have friends that are about to have babies. I have friends that are trying to renovate houses. They have weddings. You know, I am kind of on the later side of my friend group for getting married. And everyone's a little tired of the commitments required around your friends getting married.
You want to hear my prediction? My famous Julio prediction that, you know, I'm not batting a high percentage on when I say that. However, I predict that Francis will have a bachelor party. I'm putting it at minus 280. And maybe by me saying this, it will make you not have one, which you can thank me for as well.
Oh my
I think
God.
either way, there's a good outcome to this for you. But I predict that Francis will have a bachelor party for sure. I'm putting the odds where they are. Minus 280.
I also think we should change the name of it. I hate to say this. I'm going to sound ridiculous. Bachelor party to me sounds like the most toxically male vestige of patriarchy
12 guys
somehow.
banging their faces against a wall.
Yeah, it has such negative implications. And, you know, in England, they call it a stag party, which I actually like a lot more. I think that's better. Let's equate it to some sort of animalistic ritual. Yeah, dude, I don't know. Look, if it is a bachelor party, it'll just, as I said, maybe we'll do a dinner here in New York. I think that would be totally acceptable.
What are the odds that it turns into like a Vegas weekend?
It's never,
0%?
I would never do that. I would never do a Vegas weekend. And no offense to anyone who does a Vegas weekend. That's just not my thing. I'm not a big gambler. You know, I couldn't do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are the odds that it turns into a weekend out of the city? Or at least maybe even a night? Just wonder.
Where would you want to go?
I don't care.
Let's say that I tasked you.
I want to go where you want to go.
Let's say that I tasked you with organizing my bachelor party, hypothetically.
Mhm.
You know the people that are going. You know the way that I feel.
Yeah.
What would you organize? What would you put together?
Knowing the way that you feel and that you would have criteria and stuff, I think I would just kill myself.
Oh.
Okay, honestly, the honest answer to that,
That's very good. That's very good.
I would ask, I would poll everybody in the group.
Group suicide.
No.
All right, everybody, take a sip of this. You know the deal.
I would ask everybody what they thought, and then from there, I would make the decision. Maybe probably turn into golf.
But this is the problem.
I'd be afraid of not doing it well. That's
So you would
That's why I would kill
not be
myself.
the guy for me to task with this.
I'd be too. I mean, I would certainly do it if you asked me to, but I'd be scared.
No, I would know not to give that to you. I mean, no, that's nothing. No disrespect. I just have friends who are like tremendous organizers. Who are very logistics oriented. You know, they've done this many times.
Yeah.
Very, very email heavy guys.
Totally.
Who, you know, would be all over it.
Like I would be afraid. I would be afraid that you'd come home from the weekend and Sierra would be like, "How was it?" And you'd be like, "You know," you'd be like, "Listen, G, he's my boy."
He tried.
He's my boy.
He tried.
But you know, there's things that I wish I hadn't asked him to plan it. I would just be so scared of that.
God, you are as neurotic as I am. And we're neurotic in different ways, but we definitely are. You are a very neurotic person. It's interesting. Wow. Okay. Let's go back to what I interrupted you with.
What was I saying?
You were about to pull up an email.
Oh, no, dude, that was great. That was a rich topic. We'll see what ends up happening with that. I look forward to whatever you decide, including if it's me arranging it. Okay. Okay, so this is a good one. I think that, so a while back, we were talking about sort of punishments for like coming in last place in your fantasy league or that sort of thing. And some people could come up with some really funny ones. And there's some like basic ones too, where it's like, you have to take the SATs. Like there's stuff, like, it's typically something that sucks.
By the way, I would love to take the SATs.
Really?
I would love to take the SATs against somebody for money.
Oh, wow. Without being able to prepare, or could you prepare? I mean,
yeah, there'd have to be some kind of honor system where you could not prepare.
You would probably, I imagine you would do extremely well still.
I think I would do very well.
So did you take it when the essay had been included yet?
I took it just when, I think it was the second year that they had added the writing as a totally new section. But they've since reverted back to a closer version to what the original was.
There's no more writing sample?
There may be, but there isn't. I think oh God, I haven't looked in years, but I think it's back to being at a 1400 again.
It was
1600.
Oh, really?
Instead of 21.
Interesting. 24.
24. Jesus Christ.
Did you score very well?
I did fine. In high school.
Mhm.
You know, I had a very good writing score and a very good reading score and a solid math score.
Mhm.
But I then tutored it for 5 years.
Right. So now you're just an
and
ace.
it is truly a teachable skill.
Yeah.
Where in teaching it, I taught myself and know how to tackle the questions, know how to time myself, know how to pace myself, all that.
And you know how to like get your pupil to score well.
Correct. Yeah.
So like people would come to you and then they would get a really good score on the SATs.
Well,
usually.
The only thing you ever looked for was improvement.
Right.
That was all you could hope for.
Right.
I couldn't get everyone to the promised land,
Mhm.
but the first thing we would always do is we would start with a diagnostic test so that I could get a score for where the kid was at.
And then, right.
If for nothing else, to show that by the time they took it, I had led to some improvement, hopefully.
Right.
Because, some kids are only going to improve from being really bad to slightly less bad. And
Right.
that's all you can do. They're not test
They
takers.
just don't got it.
have struggles, whatever. And then there were some kids who, made leaps and bounds and you kind of just unlocked it for them and they were
Mhm.
going to get in the promised land. They would score perfectly almost regardless of whether I'd helped them. They could have
Right.
gotten there just by cracking open a prep book and spending an hour with it.
Right.
So.
Right. Makes sense. Very cool. Okay. So this is a good story about coming in last place in your fantasy league. Okay. On one of your episodes a year or two ago, can't remember, but you guys were talking about people sharing their fantasy football punishments. We'd been struggling to find an adequate punishment for our league's bottom man. Somehow dark spray tans, tiered payouts, and hours in shitty restaurants didn't seem enough.
Spray tan's pretty funny.
Spray tan's really funny.
It's pretty good.
Finally, we landed on something. Each year, the Sacco, or loser for the uninitiated, must travel to a destination of the league's choosing for a weekend. Naturally, we try to choose one of the most unappealing cities or towns in the country. This is our third year, and for the first 2 years, we elected Duluth, Minnesota, and Amarillo, Texas. I don't know how you even pronounce that. We require social media documentation so we can all follow along for the weekend, and we all have a group me that we all regularly communicate in, where the Sacco can give updates to. The point is, the Sacco has to spend a boring, pointless weekend in a godforsaken town with nothing to do. Essentially, just waste your weekend, let alone the fact that you're forced to travel against your will to a place you want to go. This year, however, Fargo, North Dakota had other plans. We had heard of it from the movie and the TV series, but upon further research, found it suitable as banishment for a weekend for the loser. Our hero lives in Charleston, South Carolina, and he had a connecting flight in Chicago to make it to Fargo. For a while, we weren't sure he was even going to make it due to a massive snowstorm that hit Fargo hours before he was supposed to land. But alas, they were clear for takeoff. Here's a screenshot of the good... Oh, sorry, I don't need that. Sorry. I promise this is good.
There's Julia's scrolling
I mean,
sound effect.
so this is like a, so this is like a written. This is almost like an oral.
History of
Okay, so
Fargo?
he was tweeting about it, and I guess somehow I'm gonna have to summarize a little bit because it's a little confusing.
That's
but
right.
as he got on the plane, he was telling some people about the fact that he was going there for punishment. And there's a tweet from somebody that says boarding a flight from Chicago. Oh, this is from him, from Chicago to Florida. Okay, random person boarding a flight from Chicago to Fargo. There's a guy on this flight from South Carolina. He lost his fantasy football league, and the loser has to spend a week where the league players decide. They chose to send him to Fargo. The entire flight is laughing at/with him and giving him tips on where to go and how to survive. He dressed inadequately and has no idea what to expect. Reach out to him for a story or whatever. His Twitter is so-and-so. I've got his number if you want. I shared the stories with buddies. So apparently, dude, that tweet goes viral.
Wow. Cool.
Within hours of making contact with local Fargoans, they've adopted him as one of their own.
This is
Not to
awesome.
mention, he had a pretty epic Friday night too. Got blackout at a bar with the patrons and got laid. Then on Saturday, our friend meets his new buddies at the bar and then heads to a basketball game. Dude, at the basketball game, they bring him on the court. And interview him. And then he ends up going on all these local TV stations and iHeartRadio and becomes this famous guy. Then they make like an article. McFeely, sent here as punishment, regular guy from South Carolina, becomes the king of Fargo. It's him with the mascot. It's amazing.
This is incredible.
I know. So it just goes on and on. The city of Fargo pulled a fast one on our friend group. We thought what we thought was going to be a punishment, miserable weekend for our friend turned out to be action-packed, hilarious adventure that's gone mini viral in each of our social circles.
Holy
Et cetera, et
smokes.
cetera. Dude, I feel like if that happened to you, this is what would happen. If you got sent, like you would just end up becoming like the mayor of the city.
It would either be that or I would be the most vilified, hated person to ever grace their place. Because it would just be a series of those types of Uber interactions
right.
after another where I would say like, why is it this way? And then they would be like, fuck this guy.
Oh, right.
Why are you questioning our ways?
Love him or hate him.
Yeah, no, there'd be an impact one way or another. Yeah. Very polarizing. What a great story.
Isn't it awesome?
I want to read that article in the town.
Yeah, it was a little, sorry if it was a little bit of a sort of,
There's a lot of visuals.
but
I
it was
think they
funny.
get it. Yeah.
Good stuff. Awesome.
Wow.
Cool.
Well, guys, tomorrow night is the big night. Gotham Comedy Club. I'm headlining my big New York City weekend, Friday and Saturday, 4 shows. A lot of the young fans are coming Saturday night.
Any tickets left?
I don't know.
I hope so. Or sorry, I hope not.
Yeah.
But
it's
if there
tight.
are, grab them.
The late show Saturday, if there are tickets to that, come. If not, come to the Friday one. I think the Saturday early one's sold out. So, love you guys and hope to see some of you there. I got my whole hour and some new stuff that I'm really excited to show you.
Very cool.
FrancisEllis.com is where you can get tickets to that.
Go check that out. Check out my Iraq piece. It's on YouTube and you can find it in my bio on my website. And that's cool.
Hell yeah. Thanks, guys. See you soon.